Let's do this. Hi team, and welcome to the third webinar, Mindset. So this is a really important subject, and understand straight off the bat that there's some evidence-based stuff here, but there's also not so much, I guess, and you might take some really powerful things away from this webinar, and there might be some other bits that you go, yeah, that's not for me, and that's fine, that's okay. Remember that I'm talking to a large audience, and some things that might work for you might not work for others, but there's definitely some really thought-provoking stuff in this webinar as well. So let's get into it. So as always, what do we want you to learn? Well, we want you to learn and understand the difference between a growth versus a fixed mindset, which we'll get into in just a sec. Goal setting and your reason why. How to achieve your goals by reverse engineering them, which is important. Dealing with success and failure, very important. And then perception and positivity. So growth versus fixed mindset. So as you can see on the screen, there's two sides to this. A little bit black and white, and obviously there's some things you might go, oh, I'm in the fixed mindset there, but I'm in the growth mindset here. So it's not, it's not one or the other. You can be in both camps at different points, I guess. So let's talk about the differences. So let's talk about skills. So some of the fixed mindset might look at skills and go, oh, that's something you're born with and it's fixed. Those people are just lucky. But some with growth mindset would say, well, that comes from hard work and can always be improved. And we're talking about the same thing here. And this is the important point to note, is that if you're on the fixed mindset with any of this stuff, then there's opportunity to move over, okay? So like I say, if you look at skills and go, oh, they're just born with that, they're just lucky, it's a fixed thing, they've not had to work hard, you're wrong. Like, you're absolutely wrong. I've got skills with what I do with you guys, and trust me, I've had to work hard for it. I've made a lot of mistakes, and I've continued to learn from them. So that's skills. Moving on to challenges, like how do you interpret challenge? Because some of the fixed mindset would be, oh, that's something to avoid. I don't want challenge. Or could reveal a lack of skill. So it could highlight my shortcomings. So I'm not going anywhere near it. Not interested in that. Whereas some with a growth mindset would say, oh, well, that should be embraced, like a challenge. That's a good thing. Like, it's an opportunity to grow, an opportunity to learn. And yeah, you can be more persistent with it. And like I say, we're talking about the same thing here again. And this is there's a few of these things that we're going to talk about. But if you find yourself on the fixed mindset and you're like, yeah, I avoid challenge. Like, I don't want to be challenged. Like that's gonna, like, it's almost like it's gonna highlight that I'm a failure, or I'm not good at this, or I'm bad at that, or whatever. Whereas, like I say, someone with a growth mindset, I personally love challenge. Like, I love it when members challenge me. Oh, why have you done this? Why have you put me on this protein? Why did you say that? Why did you say this? That's awesome. Like, it allows me to coach them better because I can explain things and educate them, and it means that I'm always kept on my toes, which is a good thing, and I love that. So that's challenges. Effort. This is a really interesting one, because I do feel like, from an effort perspective, people's effort towards all sorts of things in life can go like this. You can put loads of effort in one moment and then not so much in another one. But someone with a fixed mindset would look at effort and say it's unnecessary, something you do when you're not good at something. And I couldn't disagree with that more. I put in a huge amount of effort to every single one of my clients and my business and my marriage and my family and lots of things. I'm always putting effort in. Doesn't mean I'm not good at it. I just recognise, on the flip side, the growth mindset, that it's essential and a path to mastery. If you, I don't know any, I don't know any famous piano players, but you're not. If we go back to the skills just for a sec, you're not born a good pianist. You have to learn. You have to put in effort. It's a challenge. There's a theme coming on here, guys. And it is essential. That effort is essential. And I've recently done a video and a talk about normal eating versus disordered eating, and how normal eating is hard work, because you do have to put that effort in. You don't just, It just doesn't come to people naturally. It's just not how it is. So that's effort. Moving on to feedback, and this one I really want the people that watch this. This is one of the key points I want you to take away from this. If you have a fixed mindset towards feedback, you're probably going to run into problems, not just with your coach, but your family, your colleagues, anyone that gives you feedback. And if you are someone that gets defensive and takes it personally, it's a fixed mindset. And the reason I can say this really safely is because I've had to work really hard at this. I used to get very personal, used to take things very personally and get very defensive when people gave me feedback. Now I look at it as something that's really useful, something to learn from, and identifies areas to improve. So I'm like, oh, thank you for sharing it. Now, I might not agree with it all the time. Sometimes people with fixed mindsets point the finger, which I'm going to come on to now around setbacks. But if you are someone that takes feedback really personally and gets defensive, you've got to ask yourself why. Because most of the time when I look back, when I used to do it, particularly when I was a younger man, I was getting defensive because they were right. I just didn't know how to manage it. I didn't know how to deal with it. It was like, I was being told the truth and I just didn't really like it. And sometimes the truth does hurt a little bit. And obviously, it depends on how that truth is presented and articulated. However, if it's the truth, you should want to learn from that and improve. But last but not least, setbacks. Do you blame others? Do you get discouraged? The amount of people over the years that I have had to call out and say, don't point the finger at me, point it straight back at yourself. You're in this position. You're a grown woman, man, whatever. You've put yourself in this position, whatever it is. I'm not going to get into detail, but you're where you are. The setback has happened. We need to discuss it. We need to see it as a skill that needs to be improved, a challenge that should be embraced. You need to put in effort. You need to accept my feedback, and then we need to use it to move forward. And next time around, use it as a wake-up call or an opportunity to improve the next time around. Okay. So if you do blame others, if you're quick to point the finger, and trust me, there's a lot of you out there, try and understand that it gets you nowhere. You can point the finger all you like, but at the end of the day, it's your life, it's your responsibility. And often the person that's give that feedback is giving you the feedback because they care and they want to help. So the least you can do is hear them out, have a conversation about it, essentially talk to each other like adults. Believe it or not, we can agree to disagree and not everyone has to fall out with each other. But anyway, hopefully that makes sense. And it'd be really interesting to hear feedback from you guys. I'm always happy to have messages sent to me at any time on social media or through the app or anything at all, on where you see yourself on the list. Because you might go, oh, well, I'm mostly in the growth mindset, but actually there's a couple of things where I'm in the fixed. But that could be something you aim to make progress on in the coming weeks and months. So yeah, a little bit about growth and fixed mindset there. So let's talk about goal setting, because goal setting, why set a goal? What's the point? Just go forward randomly, and actually I kind of touched on the point there, haven't I? You want to set goals because that can help. It can keep you driven, it can keep your eye on the ball, so to speak, keep you motivated. And it's a good thing to hit a goal, isn't it? We've all done it. I've lost a little bit of body fat recently. I've got down to a body composition and a waist measurement in particular that I wanted to get down to, and it felt good. So goal setting, it can be a good thing. It can sometimes confuse people, and you can set too many goals, and it can be too complex. I'm a big believer of keeping things simple. So bear that in mind. But talk to your coach about your goals, because they are invested in you. We are invested in you. We're not doing this for a crack and a laugh. We're doing this because we want to change people's lifestyles and we want to help people, for the better. So yeah, include us in that stuff. And actually, I'm just going to go back because I feel this is fair. Actually, just going back to this point here and talking about setbacks. You are going to have setbacks in your life. If you don't think you are, you're in for a tough reality check. And when you have setbacks, you have the choice to move on positively or move on negatively. And don't be that client that has a setback for whatever the reason and goes, yeah, I'm just going to cancel. I'm cancelling my membership. I'm not even going to bother talking to my coach. It's this fixed negative attitude towards it. Talk it out. Put in the effort that's on the screen. Accept the challenge that's in front of you and get some feedback. It's important stuff, this, guys. And trust me, because we've had it time and time again. You know, there are two types of people, you know, with this type of setback. You know, they either run from the problem and it never gets any better, or they face up to it. They face up to the challenge. They work with a coach that's supporting them and that can help them through it, and then they get through it and get past it. You know, which person do you want to be? What mindset do you want to have? Anyway, going back to goal setting. Why are they important? So, and you know, setting SMART goals. You know, I'm sure we've all heard of SMART goals. You know, being specific, being measurable, you know, achievable, realistic, and timely. Although timely for me, I think people put way too much emphasis on the time side of things. You know, I need to lose 10 pounds in 10 weeks or 2 weeks or whatever the time frame is. And when I actually get into the detail, I'm like, why is that? And it's not really a timely thing. They're just putting a time on it. And most of the time, if we reverse this back now, it's not realistic. It's not achievable. Yes, it's measurable, and yes, it's specific, but then you fail on the other three. So you know, think about these things. If you were to lose, let's say it was weight loss, if you lost a pound a week, most people will put their nose up to that and go, oh, that's rubbish. What's the point? And I'm like, oh, so in a year's time, if you were 52 pounds lighter, you'd be upset, would you? They'd be like, no, that'd be amazing. And I go, well, that's a pound a week. You know, you need to look at the bigger picture. Don't set these unrealistic time frames to achieving things. And then moving on to, are your actions aligned with your goals? You know, I talk about this a lot to members, a lot. You know, I do believe there's a huge amount of people out there that like the idea of being health seeking, losing weight, and whatever the goal is. But when push comes to shove, they're not really willing to put in a lot of effort. It's a nice thought, essentially. Hopefully you don't fit that, you know, that type of person. But if your actions are constantly not in line with your goals, then something's got to change, right? And the quote on the screen is, success happens when your actions align with your thoughts and goals. It is as simple as that. But naturally, there's a lot of complexities to it. There's a lot of barriers in life. There's a lot of behaviours and habits and different things that could sometimes get in the way. And that's why you're working with a coach to understand how to get around those things and you know, how to navigate yourself around those types of things. But if your actions aren't in line with your goals, don't be that person that goes, I can't believe it, I've not lost any weight. And I turn around and go, wait a minute, you constantly consume too many calories than I've given you. You've not hit your protein goal. You've not hit your steps expectation. You've not communicated with me. You've not put in the effort. I'm not surprised. So just bear that in mind. If your actions are in line with your goals, or aligned with your goals, as it says here, but I say in line with your goals, then it will happen. It's not an if, it's a when. You know, don't rely on luck, because luck's not gonna help you. Now, just want to talk about your reason why, because your reason why can be a really, really powerful thing. So to give yourself a goal, a meaning, and a purpose, that's the point behind it. So I'm not going to share names, of course, but I've had a lot of clients in the past. They've said to me, you know, I've asked them, I've challenged them. I said, what's your reason why? Why are you doing this? Why this program? Why now? What's the point? And I'm asking every single one of you right now, and I'm asking you not just answer this, but I'm asking you to then share it with your coach. Okay, so it'd be interesting to see how many people do that. But I've had people share their reason why to me, and they're like, yeah, I want to have a child. You know, I want to have a child. Me and my partner have been trying for some time. It's not how we've been told we need to lose weight. You know, we're lowering our opportunity to get pregnant, etc., etc. And even if we do, the risks are higher because we're overweight or obese or whatever it might be. And their reason why is to have a child, to have a healthy child. I mean, if that's not a powerful reason why, I don't know what is. Then there's other people that say to me, yeah, you know, I just want to get into a pair of jeans that I used to 20 years ago. And I'm like, well, is that particularly powerful? Like, is that going to drive you to success? Probably not. So just think about your reason why, because it can be very, very powerful. So like I say, ask yourself why. Please do share that with your coach. And is it a powerful why? Because a powerful why can be key Doesn't necessarily have to be. I've been very adherent across points in my life without necessarily an overly powerful why. Um, but I guess if I dug down a bit deeper, the reason why would be I want to be a healthy, happy person long term. So one could argue it is a powerful reason. Um, but yeah, a powerful why can really, really help. And there's going to be times where things are difficult and you have setbacks and there's challenges. It's how we respond to those things and what's our thought process like? What's our mindset like? So let's reverse engineer some stuff now. So because everyone's going to have goals of some sort. Of course they are. You wouldn't be watching this webinar if you didn't. But you need to ask yourself the question of what can you do every day to get to your goal? And obviously, put a lady with a lovely set of teeth. We clean our teeth every day, twice a day, and that's something we don't really think about too much, but it keeps our teeth clean and healthy. And if we don't do it, if we only do it once a day, or if we do it even less frequently than that, you're probably going to get some plaque buildup. I'm not a dentist, but you're probably going to have some sort of tooth, mouth, gum related issues. Whereas if you do it twice a day, like I say, your teeth, mouth, gums, etc. will stay healthy. So what can you do every day to get you closer to your goal? And I'm going to come onto that a little bit more in a sec. Set goals within goals. So the total goal might be I want to lose £20, and I've got the example coming up in a second. If you focus on £20, that can feel like a pretty big uphill challenge. So break it down, yeah. And I always say to people when someone says to me, "Oh, I want to lose £20 or 10 kilos or whatever," I go, "Okay, cool." And they're like, "How do I do it?" And I'm like, "Could you lose £1?" And they're like, "Yeah, I feel like I could do that." I'm like, "Let's look to do that 20 times. That's it." And they're like, "Oh, yeah, I've never really thought of it like that." And I'm like, "Yeah, you're focusing on the end goal. Firstly, we need to come right back to where we are right now, see what's going on, observe the situation, start to implement behaviours and attitudes towards how we can get you to your goal, that are more positive and more aligned with your goals, and break it down. Like I said, if you lose £1, then you can lose 5, you can lose 10, etc., etc. Yes, it might get more difficult potentially as you go along if you're quite a small person and you might not want to go that far. But if you break it down, there's about 6 kilos to a stone. If someone wants to lose a stone, I'd just say, look, can you lose a kilo? Like, yeah, cool, let's look to do that 6 times. Simple. Don't put any more pressure on it than that. Moving on, don't underestimate the small things you do, as these matter the most. They really do. They really, really do. And, I can give loads of different examples, but let's just talk about focusing on the end goal for a sec and then linking it into the small things. So if someone wants to lose £20, like the example I gave a second ago, that can be quite an overwhelming feeling, and almost to the point where it's like, I don't even know where to start, so I won't. Whereas I say to people, why don't we just look at doing one thing tomorrow? And I'm like, okay, cool, well, I can do that. And I'm like, sweet. What one thing could you do tomorrow that's in line with your goal, would take you closer to your goal? And they're like, I feel like I could track my calories. And I'm like, okay, just do that. And they're like, what about steps? What about protein? What about whatever? And obviously these are the people that are really overwhelmed by the situation. I'm like, don't worry about it. Just track your calories. Can you report back to me with your calories tomorrow with some feedback on how your day's been? Is that deliverable? And they're like, yeah, I feel that's deliverable. I'm like, cool, brilliant. So they do that, they feedback the next day, and I'm like, brilliant, could you do the same tomorrow? They're like, yeah, I feel like I could. Is there any chance we could add one more thing in as well? And I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, that makes sense. Like, what do you want to do? And they're like, well, my water intake was pretty low today, so I feel like I could drink, 2 litres of water. I'm like, okay, brilliant, go do that. So tomorrow, feedback to me with your calories and how your water intake's gone. And the next day they do that. And they come back to me and they go, I had my 2 litres of water and I stayed within my calorie allowance again. I'm like, brilliant, well done. Do you think you could do that again tomorrow? And they go, yeah, I think I did. And I'm like, is there anything else you could maybe add on top of it? And they go, yeah, do you know what? Like, I feel like I was keeping half an eye on protein anyway, so I feel like I could probably hit that with just a little bit more effort tomorrow. I'm like, cool, go and do that and report back. And as you can see, it builds and builds and builds. And you get to the end of the week and suddenly you're doing 7 things you weren't doing. But if I said to you at the start of the week, I want you to start with those 7 things. Let's say it was calories, protein, steps, water, parking further away from work, and having 3 bits of fruit or veg in your diet. Let's say it was those 7 things over the course of that week that we introduced very slowly. That feels okay. If I'd have asked you to do that on day 1, you'd have probably freaked out and gone, I can't do this. And you'd have probably only managed some of them. Because you only managed some of them, you'd have felt like you failed. And it's just not the way to start. So break these things down. Break it down. The small things count. What we do frequently matters, I promise you. Good or bad, positive or negative, however you want to look at it. You know I'm not that black and white. But if you're constantly doing positive things, you'll probably have positive results. If you're constantly doing things that are negative towards your health, you'll probably have those health issues at some point. So yeah, look at the little things, they count. Moving on, so let's reverse engineer this example that I gave. So £20. So just giving an example here. I know £20 across 8 weeks is quite a lot and unrealistic for a lot of people. But I've also had people, believe it or not, I had someone lose just shy of £60 in 2 months. Which was quite unbelievable and not something you should expect to do. And they were a very, very large person. They were also male. They needed more calories, etc., etc. But yeah, the point I'm making is that £20 in 8 weeks might be okay for someone, but might not be for someone else. But we're going to use it as the example. So the goal is £20. So it's £20 in 8 weeks, which is actually £10 every 4 weeks, which is actually £2.45 a week, or £0.35 a day. And you break it down like that, you go, well, actually, £0.35 a day isn't totally unrealistic, although a little bit high, and probably I maybe could have used a slightly better example here, but I hope this makes sense. What can you do to help with that? Well, you can stay within your calorie allowance, like I've talked about. You can hit your daily minimum steps, or weekly, really. You might want to set yourself a minimum amount of steps to do. Make sensible decisions with meals and snacks, and walk to the shop, school, work, etc. And just make positive decisions in and around your goals. It's people like to overcomplicate things. Oh, I've planned my whole week of food out, and I'm like, oh, okay, that's not necessary. But if you want to do that, you crack on. And most of the time, they get to Friday and they go, yeah, I've not stuck to it. And then they feel like they've failed, and they've overcomplicated it. Just turn up today. There's real power in going, if I turn up today and do what I need to do today, and then just do that again the next day and just keep turning up, like, you will end up building consistency and getting to where you want to get to. So success and failure, just very quickly talking about that because it is important. So success, when you have success, give yourself some credit, share in your success. I love it when members tag us and things on social media. I love to share in your success, as do other members, might add. So, you will no doubt be contacted by other members, congratulated. Success is a great thing. But also when you get success, take time to reflect on why that may have happened. Often people go, oh, I can't believe it. I can't believe I've lost a stone in a month, or this has happened, or whatever. And I go, I can. You've been incredibly consistent. Like, you've delivered the things I've asked you to do. You've talked to me. We talk about all the things that has led them to this point. And they're like, well, yeah, I suppose when you put it like that, I shouldn't be surprised. But because you may have experienced a lot of setbacks in the past, it's maybe not a surprise, but just like a bit of a shock, I guess. But this is evidence-based stuff, guys. So, if you do what we're asking you to do, success is a when, not an if. But failure, because it happens, and I don't really like to use the word failure, but success and failure, it makes sense with what we're talking about. But when you do have setbacks, you fail, whatever you want to call it, like I said, I'm not a massive fan of the word failure, but take responsibility. We talked about it before. Don't point the fingers at others. If you've done something you didn't want to do, if you've had a setback, take responsibility. Use it, to learn and motivate yourself to do better next time. It is the greatest way to learn, like it or not. And when people week after week paint this perfect picture to me as a coach, I just think, You're not telling me everything. No one's perfect. Don't look for perfection. Inconsistently perfect is nowhere near as beneficial and as powerful as being consistent, and then maybe having the odd day where you do go over or you do miss this or whatever it might be. Often people go, oh, look at this amazing day I've had. And I'm like, yeah, but look at the rest of the week. One day just doesn't make that much of a difference. If you took an elite athlete and over a day, give them low nutrient dense food and pulled their sleep back and messed with as much as we could, the next day they might feel a bit groggy. They're not going to really look any different. Whereas people think, oh, I've done all this today, and then they check the scales or they look in the mirror and they're like, why has nothing changed? And I'm like, well, it takes time, be patient. So in summary, I hope this has really helped. I hope I've got you thinking. But in summary, understand the importance of your reason why. It is important. Share it with your coach. It's a powerful thing. Know ways to set and plan goals. So, talk to your coach about that. I think often one of my jobs as your coach and as the head coach of the company is to manage expectations, because they do see these amazing results and people do get them. Like I say, I've had someone lose 60 pounds across 2 months, which, when you think, that's almost impossible, and we share some of this stuff, and we've recently shared people that have lost 40 pounds in less than 6 months. It's not a race, but they've been very consistent and adherent. But they never compare, guys. I say it all the time, comparison is the thief of joy, and you can't look at them and go, oh well, they've got that, so I should, because you're all in different positions, which is why it's important to speak to your coach, because they will, on a one-to-one level, personalize everything for you and make sure that you set a goal that's realistic for yourself. I work with such a range of people, and I spoke to a client only today, and she said, oh, I can't believe my steps are so much lower. And I said, you've just had a child. Like, your life has totally changed. You can't compare yourself to what you were doing 9 months ago. You've got a newborn. Like, it's just different. So be realistic, be kind to yourself as well. Understand how to handle success and failure. Like I say, success, you should celebrate in it. Any failures, any shortfalls, any setbacks, be responsible, address it, talk about it, move on positively. Don't do that whole, oh, I'm drawing a line in the sand, I don't want to talk about it. That's probably not going to do you any favours. Talk about it, it's okay, no one's perfect, we're here to help. As always, if you've got any questions, any feedback you want to give, then just drop me a message on one of my Facebook Lives, on the My Health Revolution accounts, and I will happily respond. So I hope it's been really helpful, and I'll speak to you all very soon.